Hello and welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Oak City Tech gives their clients an edge over their competition with web and logo design that make them stand out. They increase brand awareness and generate leads with SEO and social media presence, and then convert these leads into clients with content creation and email marketing. Go to oakcitytech.com. I know they'll be able to help you. Tell Drago we said hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning, and each week we bring you a small business success story from Triangle BNI. BNI is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is the Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill area. Over 30 chapters meet each week. Almost 600 members get together. We all help each other try to grow our businesses. And our small business success story this week is Charles Puryear, branch manager with Prime Lending. Charles, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Good morning.
You got the cool hat, man. Very few people can wear cool hats. But it's one of those, you know it when you see it. It's like, man, that fits.
Appreciate it.
I like that. How long have you been wearing that?
Gosh, I guess now for several years.
Okay.
This particular one here was a gift from my dad. So
Okay.
I've just been wearing it ever since. It keeps my head warm. So.
I know that feeling. Yeah, my wife cuts my hair, and she went out of town the other day, so she cut it before she left. And she just looked at me. She goes, man, it's getting thinner and thinner. I'm like, oh, come on, sweetie.
I know that well.
Supposed to be there for sport. Anyway, Charles is in RD04, Open Eye BNI. They meet every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. at the Frontier in RTP. So if you're up in that area on Wednesday mornings, go check them out. It's a fun group. Our show sponsor, Oak City Tech, Drago's in that chapter. We've had Jeff on here and Matt Stone. So have a good group of folks there. But your chapter does some good business. You've been in it a while. We're going to talk about that. The lending world, the buying houses world, everything changes. Rates are dropping.
Sure.
Market is, it's a seller's market right now, especially in that, like 175 to 350 range. There's no inventory. What do people need to know about how and where to find a good lender?
Where and how to find a good lender? Well, first and foremost, just reach out to your local prime lending loan officer. Plug there, but no, really, honestly, just really talking to the individual, the loan officer, make sure they understand what your needs are. Availability is big. I think it's very, very important to get pre-approved before you go out and start looking anyway. So.
In BNI, we get to know each other, the know, like, and trust. So it's easy for me to call you and ask a question or have somebody call you that knows me. So if I tell them to call you, they're just going to go, hey, Mike said to call you. We need to, finance a house. But if you don't know a lender, what questions should we ask to find out if the lender knows what the heck they're doing?
Got you. Well, first I would say just kind of, as the buyer yourself, just finding out what programs they have available, and talking with your loan officer, knowing what questions. I mean, buyers are pretty smart and pretty savvy today. They've done a little bit of their research online and things like that anyway. So for myself, I know when I'm speaking with a buyer for the first time, they'll have a few questions that they have in their mind they want to ask. So I'm mainly listening to that, and then that will also kind of direct some questions that I will ask them. So. I would just say make sure that your loan officer is listening to what your needs are, their programs that they have available, things that can really help you in your need.
How long does it take you to find out you got a new buyer on the phone?
How long does it take me to find out? Pretty quick. Pretty quick.
The first question. It's probably the stammering and the stuttering.
Yeah.
We hear all the time about rates dropping, lowest ever. Hopefully that'll stay for a while. How does that matter? I love, and we'll get back to in a second. I love I don't know who it is because I can't remember the name, but they do no closing costs. No closing costs.
Sure.
That's not right. It's technically correct, but you're paying for it. You have to pay for it somewhere.
Nothing's free.
Right.
We all know that.
Yeah. So where are they moving that money to if they tell you that no closing costs?
Okay. So generally what you're seeing in that is if there is no closing cost in the loan, is baked into the rate a lot of times. So you're generally getting a higher interest rate than, if you were to pay for it yourself, you're probably going to get a much better deal.
let's say it's a $300,000 house.
Okay.
Closing call, everything, all their paperwork's good, their numbers are good, no issues with the loan. What's a rough range on a closing cost?
I generally would estimate, if I'm just kind of quick math and
Mhm.
doing numbers, like 3% of whatever your purchase price you're looking at.
Okay,
And
so
that's
nine
like
grand.
9 grand.
Okay.
And that's generally overestimating
Did you
it a
see
bit.
that
So
quick SEC math I did right there, boys? I just want you to know I graduated from an SEC school, so I know
all
this stuff.
right.
My wife takes me to the grocery store. I have the grocery store math,
There you
so
go.
I add up, and she goes, "What's 15% off of this?" And we go. She takes me shopping just to do that, so which I'm fine to.
There you go.
So about 9 grand roughly.
Sure.
Where would they put that? How are they going to pay more over the loan if they bake it into the rate?
You know, it really depends. I mean, some companies may handle that differently. What I would say, just kind of taking a stab at it, I would say that they would probably, let's say your rate was 3,875, what
Mhm.
you were qualifying for, you might get a rate that might be a little higher than that, like 4.5, or and that's how they're actually covering the closing costs. So
Would
you're getting a
yeah,
credit. You're technically, the cost is there.
yeah.
You're just getting a credit, and they're baking it into the interest
I don't think most
rate.
buyers know that. I
N-
think if they're not, all they hear is no closing
Sure,
cost.
sure. And that's one of the things where we talk about when we look at, if I get a buyer that comes to me that has a quote from somewhere else, I really want to see it,
Yeah.
because we're looking for apples to apples,
Yeah.
right? Just because you're looking at things, the APR is pretty important to look at, because that's telling you how much your cost and other things that are costs associated with the loan. So that's really what I'm looking for.
So if I call you first to
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I want to buy this $300,000 house. Here's all my information," you would, assuming everything's good, I get pre-approved.
Mhm.
So I have a letter that tells whoever I go to buy a house from, I'm approved to this number, 325, 350, whatever the number
Sure.
is. If I want, and you would give me your rates, what I'd be paying, all the good information, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
So now I call another lender, and they if I called another lender first and came to you with that sheet of paper, what are you looking for first to
Um,
tell me if this is a good deal or you could do better?
Right. Well, I'm looking at the rate and any costs that's associated with that, meaning any points or fees. Uh, I'm looking to compare what their lender cost is to what mine would be, and a lot of times, like I said, the interest rate that I'm looking at,
Yeah.
and then if you have points associated. Now, we're not always going to be the lowest person on the block, but we're not the highest person on the block either. There are
Yeah.
different value props that are associated with that. So sometimes there are companies that can give a lower rate, but they just have a different approach to their business. So if the rate I see is really, really low and there's not a lot of costs associated with it, then I'm
Yeah.
looking to see how close I can get you to exactly where you are. But I'm also talking to you a lot about the value of what we bring
Yeah.
to the table ourselves as prime lending.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. I've got that
Sure.
question down
Okay.
because I know there's a million of you out there these
I know.
days, some on TV and some
Hey,
not.
that's right.
If all goes well, if I sent you my information over today and everything was good, no hiccups,
Mhm.
what kind of time frame would it be before I got a letter or something back from you?
Oh, we get the letter to you within less than 24 hours.
Oh,
So
really? Okay.
technology is great. We can actually send it right over from my cell phone if I needed to. So it's love the tech. But things have changed a lot. We generally try to being accessible is really important for me and my clients,
Mhm.
and for
Yeah.
all of our loan officers. So it's if you needed that, we would pre-approve you and then let you know whenever you or your agent's ready for the letter.
Okay.
We can get it out to you guys.
Okay. It's what was the other kind of letter? Pre-approved and
Pre-qual,
pre-qualified.
pre-approval. Yeah.
There's a big difference in there.
There is. There is. One is basically saying, Mike, you're sitting here telling me exactly what your job is, what you
Yeah.
make, how much money you have, things like that. The other is I'm verifying that information. And that's the one we like to go with the
Oh,
most. So
yeah.
so up front, we're talking about the list of items and the things that we'll need to verify to get that letter for you. And once we review those, that's when we're issuing that pre-approval letter for
Who's
you.
taking a pre-qual letter is legit?
I
Are
yeah,
people still doing that?
Some may. It's pretty risky to do that. I
Oh,
would think,
no
especially
kidding.
with not knowing what a buyer can and can't qualify for, and with the market the way things are, like you just mentioned earlier, the inventory and
Oh.
being low. It's what we're trying to do is do as much diligence up front to give our buyer that edge, so the seller knows that, hey, these guys have really been qualified. They've really been looked, everything's been verified.
Man,
looked
tell you what,
into.
if I was a seller, that pre-qual letter doesn't mean a thing to me.
Absolutely not. Not worth the paper it's written on sometimes.
Oh, I'm wondering how many. Yeah, that's what they tell you until I've got to send you paperwork in, and it's like, yeah,
Sure.
you're pre-approved for $182,000 house instead of $300,000.
Yeah, absolutely. That happens.
Where was the last loan or letter pre-approval letter you had to get out when you weren't in the office?
When?
You're like on vacation somewhere
Oh.
or a Saturday fishing? Or
Yeah,
something like
sure. Actually, just Saturday. It was just 2 days ago. So I was at my son's baseball training, got a phone call, said, hey, buyer loves his house. But again, we had already done a lot of the information up front. And so we were already set and ready to go. So I just went into our prime lending app that we have and inputted their name and their information, saw what the price they were looking for, and clicked a button, hit send, and it went off to the agent and the buyer, and
Nice.
everybody was good. So hopefully we'll be hearing today that they're offered
in between innings. You got that.
in between things. Yeah. So that's,
you were going, when we sat down, one of the things I told Charles that I've learned on this show is quit asking the good questions before we get on the air.
Right.
And I had that probably the first couple of shows, somebody, Charles, or whoever the guest was, would come in and sit down, and I'd waste 20 minutes of the show asking questions. So I started asking him how his weekend went, because that's usually easy and it doesn't make it on the air. But he said that they finally got a chance to celebrate Christmas.
Yes.
So please tell us that story.
Oh, wow.
And this is January 20th.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We're way past. You should have heard the my wife's uncle doing the prayer, saying that we can celebrate birthday of Christ any day, right? So, but no, it was so Christmas Eve. My son, we had a holiday party on a Saturday, and then I would say Sunday he was kind of laying around a bit, and then Monday same thing. So Tuesday finally got to the point where I was like, wow, he's not feeling well at all. And my mother had actually mentioned that someone had said something about the flu, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if he's got the flu. So anyway, we proceed to take him over to urgent care, and when you know it, he is diagnosed with the flu.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Scrambling around trying to get him some Tamiflu, get him home. Christmas Day rolls around, and it just passes through the entire house. So my 3-year-old now has the flu. My 8-year-old now has the flu. My wife has the flu. My mother has the flu. I am the only one sitting back without the flu because I got the flu shot. I was the only one that got the flu shot. So we quarantined our house.
So on Christmas Day, everybody but you has the flu.
Christmas Day, everybody but me has the flu. And we were hosting Christmas.
Oh, good.
So we had to call everyone and say, sorry, guys, you probably don't want to come over here. So we had all this food that we just cooked and ate and tried to eat, but it spelled for a very fun holiday because we figured out all kinds of ways not to get on each other's nerves and to do different things. And kids ended up having a really good time, but we didn't leave the house literally until after January 1st.
Wow. So what'd you guys do to celebrate Christmas this weekend?
Celebrating Christmas weekend. So my wife's her grandparents and that side of the family all came over. So we had great grandparents, aunts, uncles, great aunts, everyone that was going to be there that day.
Yeah.
All came, and we made a quasi Christmas dinner, went out and tried to find a turkey somewhere and honey baked ham and all the good, Southern greens and cooking and all that good stuff. So it ended up being a really fun day yesterday. And the kids were happy because they got to open presents.
They got more
presents, like well after they completely forgotten that grandma and grandpa had gotten them presents.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they now came in with, wow, I forgot that we were, gonna have presents.
Funny.
So it was cool. It was fun.
And that'll be good at school tomorrow when they can say, so what'd you do this week?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They can tell that story. Hey, I celebrated Christmas.
Oh,
Really?
everybody's sick but you.
Yeah,
Did you get your point across to your wife that, hey, flu shot next year?
I did. I am not afraid of shots. She is literally deathly afraid of these things. I mean, I think I literally sit and hold her hand when she gets a shot 'cause she might pass out. But we definitely, you should have saw us literally when everybody was ready to go out. We were trying to find somewhere that we could get in and get a flu shot quickly. So Target, wherever, anywhere we could find one. So
Nice. Well, that kind of tops this one of the better stories we've heard about this weekend with.
Yeah.
We're here with Charles Puryear, branch manager, prime lending office in Durham.
Mhm.
You got deep ties to Durham.
I do.
Charles is in RDO 4, Open BNI. They meet Wednesday mornings at the Frontier at 9:00. Family. All right, we talked about the kids, 3,
Sure.
8, and 12.
Mhm.
What, now give us the names.
So we've got Charles, who likes to go by CP3 in his sports world.
I found out you're a junior.
I am a junior.
Okay,
Yes.
you don't mention that we've known each other a couple of years now. I don't know that I've ever heard you say that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it's because my family, even no matter how old I got, I was always little Charles. So
Yeah.
I could be I was deep into my 30s, still seeing family as little Charles. I think even actually last weekend I was little Charles.
Really?
Really funny. Yeah. Yeah. That just happens.
Okay. Were you called, did you use junior much growing
So yes, I tried to differentiate between, dad and my own identity. So I didn't really like the Charlie or the any other
Yeah.
names. I was Charles, so I really liked Charles. Never was called CJ or anything like that. So I think that's
Okay,
why the
yeah.
little Charles stuck. But it was I went for Chuck as a very short few years in college, but
Oh, did you?
yeah,
Okay.
family didn't bite on that too much. So it was
And I was going to lead into my question because I knew you had a son. What was the thought process for you naming him Charles as well?
naming him Charles as well. So I was really proud of my name.
Yeah.
I loved being named Charles growing up, and I really idolized my dad when we.
I stalk people
Okay.
online. I saw his picture.
Mm.
You are his son, right?
Yes.
I saw that. It's like, okay, I get no doubt about it.
No denying
doubt
that.
about it. Yeah.
Family says that to this day anyway.
Oh,
They say
yeah.
how eerie it looks with seeing me because we're
Yeah.
generally a spitting image of each other. But
Yep.
growing up, he just took me everywhere. I mean, when he went to go, I remember playing basketball at the Lakewood YMCA, being a little kid, and he would pick me on the team. And like, why are you picking this little kid? But it would come out and just push me to shoot the ball or dribble or do this. So just idolizing him growing up, I was just, when I had a son or as I got older, I was like, man, I hope I can just be that same thing to, my son
Mhm.
as my dad was to me. So it just came natural when my wife and I found out we were having a boy. She didn't hesitate when she was like, yeah, let's name him Charles.
Okay, because you got to have buy-in.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I didn't want a Michael Jr. for no reason other than just didn't, and others do. And I'd have been fine if I was named, Jack. My dad was Jack.
Yeah,
I'd have been okay if they named me that. So it's just really weird, but I love the connection though. So he is Charles.
Yep.
What's
Charles Edward
Edward, yeah.
Puryear the third.
Okay, and he goes by what?
So he goes by Charles,
Okay.
but on anything that's dealing with athletics and sports, he's CP3.
Nice.
And he does not know Chris Paul, or at the time when he started this, he's been doing this since he was 4. So
he came up with that on his own.
he came up with that on his own. He wanted to
Nice.
be. I remember getting him his first Gatorade water bottle, and there was like a little thing where you could put your name on it. It was a little tab on
Oh,
the
yeah,
top where you could
yeah.
put your name on it. And so he said he wanted Charles Puryear and then CP3 on the back. I was like, okay.
Mm.
But he also came up with his grandfather's nickname, and he calls him G Daddy. So kid's pretty good with the nickname. So anyway, that kind of sticks. I mean, he just puts it on things.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily walk up and introduce himself as
Okay.
CP3, but if it's on like a backpack or a jersey or something like
Gotcha.
that. that's what
Okay.
it is. So,
All right, so he's the oldest.
he's the oldest. Yeah, he'll be 12 in March.
Okay.
Actually,
Right.
we've got our middle son Taylor, who his name came from my wife's maiden name.
Cool.
So she was a Taylor, so we named him Taylor. And then our youngest son is Jackson, and he's named after his great grandfather.
And we're just talking before he came on the show with my grandson, who'll be 18 months next week, and he's starting to repeat everything.
Oh yeah,
And we're just talking that 4-year-old with 2 older siblings. Man, he's hearing the world, isn't he?
he's hearing it,
Yeah.
and I'm actually saying, watch it, guys. Just be a great example. But they're great. They're
Yeah.
they're 3 great boys. They get along well. The normal them jumping off of the side of the couch
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to play,
Yeah.
WWE or whatever. That's pretty normal in
Yeah.
my house. So
Did your wife's Kristen?
my wife is, yeah.
Okay.
Kristen.
Does she have brothers?
She's not. So
Okay.
amazingly enough, we made this work as 2 only children.
So this is all new to her because you had male cousins. that you horsed around with probably.
I had a very big family. My mom and dad are both from Oxford, North
Okay.
Carolina, so not too far away. My dad kept me around family a lot. He had 7 brothers
Wow.
growing up, so it
Love
was
it.
just me.
So
So
you saw that brotherly dynamic.
yes.
I always feel for the mom
Mm,
who never had a brother, now has 2 boys,
yeah.
and trying to figure out why at the age of 4 they're jumping off the back of my couch with a towel around their neck thinking they
Sure.
can fly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's
Absolutely.
what we boys, that's what we do. That's how
That's it.
simple we are.
Yeah.
I tell women over and over again, we're simple people. We really are.
Yeah.
We're fun. Not the brightest sometimes, but we're
No,
fun.
not at all.
But 99 times out of 100, please listen, we're going to do the same thing in the same situation.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about
Absolutely.
it.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. But I always love to watch a mom with 2 boys who never had a son
Oh yeah.
because you can't explain it.
No, you can't. It's one of these things where I'm easily saying I'll take all 3 boys somewhere. Like if it's, hey, we got to run to Target or we got to go to the grocery store, we got to go wherever, because they're going to listen to me. I mean, it's like, hey, stop, do this. Her saying, no way, I'm not taking all 3 boys. I'll take 1. You got the other 2 you got to do, but it's just different
And
dynamic.
then the back and forth. So your oldest 2 are 12 and 8?
12 and 8,
Okay.
yes.
So they're close enough.
They're
to
close.
Hang out a little bit. Is to watch them for a half-hour fight, and then you separate them. Then you go into the room next time. They're like playing a video game together, cheering each other on.
That is absolutely it. That is my house.
That's what we do.
Yeah, that's it. You're right.
I always ask people on the show, so how did you meet Kristen?
Okay.
And do you both tell the story the same way?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
It's well, so we change it just a little bit when we were telling this story to grandparents and so forth. But we did meet a good friend of mine when I first started in the mortgage business. We had a mutual friend. We used to go in and bank all the time at this place. So she introduced us. Kristen was still she was in Virginia Tech, so she's a little younger than me, 7 years younger than me. So she was probably a freshman or sophomore at Virginia Tech, and it was over, I think, Christmas or Thanksgiving break, one of those holidays. And at the time, so I just started in the mortgage business, but I was still bartending. So we actually just kind of went. I'm not going to incriminate myself.
No,
on the,
let's do some math here. My future wife's a sophomore in college, and I'm a bartender. I'm just gonna let that sit for a minute.
There you go. Right, like I said, we're not going to go too far into that because I don't want any knocks on my door.
There you go.
But
Yep, I hear you.
but anyway, so we it just kind of we were friends for a really long time.
That's a long distance relationship for a little bit.
It was, but we were friends for probably a couple of years.
Okay.
Before we just realized that it was probably going to get serious and so forth. And
when she graduated, did she move down here?
She did. So she's actually from here. So she graduated from Chapel Hill High. So she's a Cary girl and a Chapel Hill girl.
Nice rival.
Which because I'm a Jordan guy.
Oh,
so Jordan and Chapel Hill are definitely rival
Don't mix,
schools. No, not at all. But so she would come home, and then quickly after, we started dating. Then quickly after graduation, I don't even recall us having the conversation about moving in. She just moved in. Yeah. Just
good for you. I saw on your Facebook site the other day when I was looking at the family pictures, one of my notes was she's wearing a Virginia Tech sweater pullover. So I'm like, okay, got to ask about that.
Yep,
so,
she's a Hokie.
To have a little bit of fun when it comes to, I know you're a big Duke fan.
Yes.
Although you are a proud North Carolina A&T grad.
I am.
Did a lot of reading up on. Now, I moved here in 73, moved away in 79, moved back in 99. So I've been gone a while. I knew that Central and A&T had a healthy rivalry. My first job back here in 2009, I ran the AMF Bowling Center in Durham, and I got educated when it came to football time on just what that rivalry meant.
For sure.
And and now, do you bowl much?
I wouldn't say much.
Right.
No.
So these old guys that bowl, they can do some great trash talk.
I bet.
Oh, yeah. So just watching those guys the week of the big game to understand the rivalry, but it's personal.
Oh, it's deep. It's very personal. We can't really say, and I apologize to all my Central folks out there right now, but it hasn't really been much of a rivalry over the last couple of years. It's been pretty one-sided.
In football for a while.
Football's been great.
Yeah,
we've had some really great athletes come through.
HBCU school for 6 of the last 8-9 years.
Yes,
something like that.
yes,
yeah. and you keep reminding them that,
We
don't
do.
you?
We do. My uncle, my dad's oldest brother, is a Central grad, so
Okay.
it's really fun in the family when we kind of get together because his daughter also went to A&T. So it's
Okay.
we get to
Oh,
family
she's
gatherings and we just let
yeah.
him have it. So
You just know.
yeah, we go in.
Basketball. I know Central for a while had a minute.
Sure. Yeah. No, Central. No,
Were
Central
they beating
does.
you guys in
Yeah,
hoops
they
for a
were.
while?
They were. Yeah, they
Okay.
are, and they still are.
Are they?
Yeah.
And it just depends on from your school which sport you want to win.
Sure. Sure. I mean, well, we want to as an Aggie, I want to win it all,
yeah.
just for
Yeah.
the bragging rights. But
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, again, you've got, I've got friends that I've grown up with that's on that side of it from the Central side and A&T thing. So
Mhm.
it's, we've been kind of personalizing that for a long
Oh,
time.
yeah.
So it's
It was a blast to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Like I said, I knew of the schools. I knew it was a good rivalry, but it's like when you move here, you don't understand the Duke Carolina dynamic
that's
till you get here.
yeah,
And you got to almost pick a side.
oh, you do. You do. I mean, being born and raised here, I had to pick a side very early, and my entire family are all Carolina fans. I mean, just everyone. So in the second grade, I kind of decided that I was just going to go the complete opposite direction.
There's always
And
one in the
yeah,
family.
I had to. I was like, I don't want to go with the masses. And listen, and there was no reason to be a Duke fan at that time because we were not good.
No.
We were getting our butts handed to us by Carolina every year. So
Because when we moved here, it was Spanarkel and Jaminski were playing. I mean,
Yeah.
I go back that far.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, you guys have how many now?
Yes, right, exactly. So
But
it's
we'll tell you what one coach can do,
Mm.
right? I mean, Carolina found that out when Dean Smith retired.
sure.
I mean, ooh,
Yeah.
tough times.
Yeah.
They get Roy and things turned out well. And I feel bad for the person that's going to follow Krzyzewski because you want to be the guy that follows the guy
Yeah.
that followed the guy.
Sure.
You don't. How do you compare?
It's going to be tough.
You could win one in 8 years, and they'll go, well, he's no Coach K.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I was just going to say, for all us Duke fans, I mean, we're going to be facing that in the next couple of years anyway. So what Carolina fans had to go through and Dean changed over.
And he's got, what, 5 or 6 guys out there that are doing pretty well.
Yeah. And
He's
got, the tree is pretty.
Do you want a Duke guy?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As a diehard, I want a Duke guy.
Okay,
It will be a
fair
Duke
enough.
guy.
Now, when I was researching a little bit on A&T and Central, came across, they call A&T's the greatest halftime on earth.
Greatest homecoming.
Oh, shoot. I wrote that
That's
wrong.
okay.
Dang
That's
it.
all right.
Homecoming.
It's GHO, so greatest homecoming on earth.
Yeah. Right. And it's legit, right?
Oh, it's extremely legit.
Okay.
Yeah. People from all over the
I don't know
country.
why I wrote down halftime. I was reading that.
That's okay. That's all right. The halftime is absolutely phenomenal as well too. But
because I was, they're just story after story about just the magnitude of that day, and everybody dressing up, coming back from all places.
Oh, it's a phenomenal sight to see. Just even as the older you get, I mean, when you're a student and you're seeing it, it's like it's impressive. But now you get to you catch up with folks you hadn't seen in quite a while, and it really just. I mean, it takes over the whole city of Greensboro. I mean, if you don't know what it is and you're trying to travel in Greensboro at that time, you're going to get a rude awakening because you're not going to find anywhere to stay.
When's the last one you went to?
Probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Who'd you beat?
I couldn't even tell you.
Okay.
I don't even know about the game.
Okay.
What's more?
So that means you didn't have the kids with you.
No, we didn't.
Okay. Have the kids with us. And the older boys are probably due to go, right?
They are, yes. So my son actually just asked, and I have to take him because where he goes to school, there are a lot of Central. His teachers graduated from Central, and he came home probably 6 months ago, and I don't know what we were talking about, but he said, "Dad, I want to go to Central." And I was like, "Okay,
not on my money."
Yeah, and I told my wife, I said, "Yeah, I got to get him up in Greensboro. he's got to go see campus and some other things."
You have a moral obligation.
Yeah, I have to. He's got to see the other side of this thing. But no, it's great. Anywhere he wants to go. So
when my oldest son graduated high school in Daytona Beach, and he was in the IB program, and a lot of those kids were going to Florida. And I'm a Tennessee grad, and I told Travis, I said, "You go wherever you want to. I'm not giving you a penny to go to Gainesville. I'm not wearing your school colors. I'm not cheering. I'm nothing. But you are welcome to go there. But I'm not paying a dang penny." So,
yeah.
Anyway, Southern. That's why I love Southern sports.
Oh yeah,
it's personal.
Yeah, it is. It's very much.
No way he's going there. So we are here with Charles Puryear, branch manager of Prime Lending. Charles is in RDO 4. OpenEye BNI meets Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. at the Frontier. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Where am I? Where am I? Where they help you reach your goals with proven technologies for increasing traffic, leads, and sales. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell Drago we said hi. All right, you've been in the mortgage lending world for about over 18 years.
Yes.
Been in
Been a
your
while.
current role 2.5, 2 years, 8 months, roughly. Your first job, the way your LinkedIn tells me, was it American Builders?
So that was my first mortgage
Mortgage.
gig.
Okay, so
Sure.
start with that one. Do you remember the first loan you did and how terrified you were?
I do. It's so different time. I actually came in and what I will say at that time, it was a different time in the mortgage business. You know, licensing was different, just the type of loans, the market, so many things were. And I remember working for just a small lender, nothing big, had his own warehouse line. I think he probably went into some other bank somewhere and got it. So not a lot of money, you know, that like you would comparatively think of. But I remember took the job as a marketing rep. So a
Okay.
glorified telemarketer is basically what it was. And I came in and I got leads for other LOs that were there. And I quickly said, you know, I'd like to do that. So anyway, so I started off kind of making my own calls, getting my own leads, and then just learning over time how to close it. So when I got my first lead, it was a refinance, and I remember I was just absolutely terrified that I wasn't. You know, I had this list of
Yeah.
boxes and things and everything I wanted to check, and I realized I knew the magnitude of what you're dealing with. I mean, this is someone's life. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
their largest investment that they'll probably ever make in their life. So, but as I began talking with the family and the wife and learning more about them, I just really realized how passionate I was about it, how infectious it was. So I wanted to learn more. And yeah, that was kind of where it went from there.
So that would have been about 2002-ish?
Yeah, somewhere
Okay.
2001,
Yeah.
2002. So,
What was the rate back then?
um, I, I, I think this particular loan, their rate may have been somewhere
Okay.
8 to 10%. Something. I mean,
Oh, we would
yeah.
not accept that.
No,
today.
no. It was pretty bad. I mean, it was a subprime deal,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was pretty high.
How long did it take you? When did that aha moment come around in the lending world that you knew, you know what, I got this?
Pretty quickly. It's we had I had some great folks around me. I had a really good mentor at the time that was a loan officer who he stayed with that particular company I was with for probably a very short period of time. He had moved on to something else, but I think we had gone to lunch several times and had established a good relationship that he would call back and kind of check on me and things like that.
Mhm.
So he was a person that I would bounce things off of and just really wanting to be a sponge and learn more from the other producers that were around me. So that was
And one of the things we learn in BNI each week is that referrals are from relationships.
absolutely.
And I know that because of your success, here's one of my favorite things when people tell me what separates you and they go, "Oh, I've been doing this 18 years." Like, okay, that doesn't tell me anything. Having known you for a little bit, I can tell that that you truly are interested in the folks that you are helping, but you're also very well connected. What's a normal week for you like reaching out to people? You may or not, a realtor may or may not have sent you anybody lately, but just
Sure.
how do you keep that sales pipeline going?
You know, again, like you said, just really trying to stay in front of them, stay visible, stay connected. Visibility is key. So, phone calls, lunches, happy hours, just dropping by just to do some drop bys and kind of let you know things that are going on with what's happening in the market there. Or really, just even dropping by to see how you're doing.
Yeah.
Just and again, I feel I've been pretty fortunate to have some long relationships to where we're not just doing business together. Our families are friends, and so that's kind of the foundation side of it. But I've also established some new relationships that I think that are pretty solid as well too. So just again, visibility is key. Just
The realtor in your BNI group, Colleen, was on probably I
okay.
think 6 weeks or so ago,
Yeah.
and she's a
She's
Durham
awesome.
girl. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
you two probably have a lot of good connections in the Durham area, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really fun when you talk to someone who has even different networks or different
Mhm.
connections than you do. So kind of merging those worlds together. We had a great coffee several weeks ago where she introduced me to someone who I was really happy to meet. And just again, like you said, just
Mhm.
connecting those worlds. So
From an industry standpoint, meaning rates, governmental regulations, what do the realtors need to hear from you on a regular basis that whatever's changed with prime lending? What kind of stuff do you take to them?
That's an interesting question. So, I'll be honest. I mean, rates are what they are. That's not something that I generally lead a conversation with, because again, there's someone out there. You're never going to be the lowest person in town. There's
Yeah,
someone out there that's always going to probably, be able to beat you in that aspect of it. So what we really want to focus on is what our value prop is, and that's the communication, the
yeah,
service, and really taking the referral and the client that you're giving us, because we want to make you look great. Because if you look great,
yeah.
then that comes back to
And
us
you
as well.
said it earlier, in a perfect world, how many loans would you like to close in a month?
In a perfect world, how
Yeah,
many would I like to close in a
yeah,
month?
yeah,
Gosh,
yeah.
I
That
mean,
would allow you to reach the goals you want to reach to keep growing.
oh yeah, me personally,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
gosh, I'd probably say, I mean, in a perfect world, man, if I could do over 20 to 30 loans a month,
Okay, all
that'd be
right. So
phenomenal.
even if you did 15,
Sure.
right? That
Oh, that's
one
very good.
home buyer that you mentioned earlier, that's their first. That's
Yes.
their one and only.
Sure.
And to you, it's like, we got you could. We've heard others take that approach. I got another one, and you could tell that
Sure.
they don't spend time with the buyers,
Right,
do they?
right. And again, that's the other side of it too. When you start getting into those numbers of units, I mean, you're only one person. You can only do it so much yourself. So it's your team and everyone that's around you. But yes, closing those number of units. You're going to have a lot of first times
Yeah,
and those folks. So
you are to the point now where you have. What did they say about once every 7 years somebody will buy a new house? So you'll have people that are starting to call you back,
sure.
and probably are you to the point where their kids are calling you
I
now?
actually have.
Do you really?
Yes, I have. Last year was probably um, randomly here or there. I probably had like a, hey, my mom, asked me to give you a call kind of thing. Last year was a little bit more of that.
Nice.
So it was
Okay.
it was fun to see. I,
Yeah.
I actually closed a really good friend of ours. We had done her loan as well too several years ago, and her daughter was now ready to buy her first home. She had just graduated from college, and it was fun to
Mhm.
see her, and even just caught up with her over the holiday to see how
Yeah.
things were going, and it's really going well for her. So
But the moral of that story, there's two parts to the moral of that story. One is you provided wonderful service to them the first time. Everything went simple or smooth.
mhm.
The rate was probably good. The service was good. But then at some point in time, there's a follow up between 2008 and 2020 when their kid
Sure.
calls you. And a lot of people don't do that, do they? They
No,
just like, they probably don't even, they don't even remember things that they did or people they met. But that's a big thing though, is just to touch every couple years, birthdays. I mean, any reason to send somebody something.
sure, yeah, absolutely. Just your past book of business, your past clients that you've worked with. I mean, staying visible to them is just as important, I feel like, as to the current network, your agents or your current
Yeah.
business sphere that you're working with right now. So
I was over at my brother's house last night. Poor guy turned 57 and he's still younger than me. So I was having dinner with him because my wife's out of town. So we're having dinner over at his house with his kids and his wife. And we were watching the first football game,
okay.
Tennessee and Kansas City.
Hmm.
And they're on a commercial came on for Robinhood, new investing app.
Okay.
All right. So it's my brother's world. So I turned to him and said, "What's this?" It's a new company that they just want your money. There's no trade, no price for a trade. They just want your money. Okay, just give us your 2,000 bucks. They'll invest whatever they do with it. But that's their barrier of entry into the millennials, and
Right.
even maybe just out of college. So they want that. And we, talked a little bit about that. And then driving over here this morning, I'm like, okay, because I'm going through my questions. I got some notes down, but you fight that too with all these 1-800s on TV that say
Sure.
call this number, but they don't have any local reps.
Right.
That's got no matter what people see on TV, that's got to be a huge value for you for those buyers knowing I'm just gonna call Charles because I got a cell phone number.
Sure. Sure.
Ugh,
That's something that we talk about a lot. Is there's no replacing you. Like, that's the 800 number, the person. Again, it works for what it works
mhm,
for, and that's okay. I'm that's the world we're in.
yeah,
You're going to have to deal with that, but just continue. What we talk about is just continuing to make sure that you know you're the expert, you're the person that's going to be here. that's going to be able to, hold your hand through the process, be accessible. You've got my cell phone number. You can stop by my office. You know,
It's that Saturday call at the baseball game.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I'm
And
not closed.
yeah, exactly. And I equate that to the banking world.
Hmm.
And that's why my bank here at South State and
Yeah.
my banker, Cherie Brown's in my chapter. And
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons why I'm tired of punching in 16 numbers to some guy today in Kansas City
Sure.
and to some girl next week in Seattle.
Right.
They have no clue who I am. They don't care and they shouldn't, but I'm not a priority.
Sure. Yeah, you're that number of whatever,
Yeah.
however tracking system or whatever they use. So.
Yeah, but your people know you. So it's funny in this world now, and I get that everybody's got. You said it right. It works for what it works for.
Mhm.
Great line, and I know you get those comparisons. Well, I was on mention Rocket Mortgage, but
Sure.
I just called them and they can do it at 3.675 instead of 3.875. And I know you've got 2 or 3 questions just ready to ask them, right?
Well, I'll tell you the first thing that I jump out with is and this is just probably one of the easiest things is we're very transparent. I'm not trying to pull any smoke and mirrors over your eyes and again, not knocking anyone
No.
else's business or how that goes, but the rate that I ask them to really look deep into what you're seeing, not just the surface side of things, because there is fine print. And when you go and you look at that, you'll finally realize when you click a couple of buttons, you see, wow, hold on.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was paying 3 points or 2 points to get
Yeah.
that rate.
Yeah.
And so regardless of who, the quote is from or who
Yeah.
I'm speaking to, I'm trying to spend that time to educate my buyer, but in educating them, I'm building that relationship and that trust.
Yeah.
And I will be the first to tell you that if you've got a great deal that I can't touch, I will encourage you and say, hey, listen, go for that. That's a good deal. And if you need, even if it's an 800 company and you feel comfortable with taking that, if you have
Yeah.
questions and you can't get the answers from them, then just call me.
Yeah.
I'm here.
And I was thinking about when I was 25 or 28, the thing to do is look for the lowest price.
Oh, yeah.
I get that.
Sure.
But the older I get, I want somebody to call because I got more than one question.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's
Yes.
that's the other thing.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
That's right.
I'm with you. Keep it local, but I see these commercials on there now. It's like, oh man, it just. And again, not knocking anybody, but there's only so much information you can get out in a 30-second commercial.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's so much more to that approval than just what you can put into an app at a time.
Is that you?
That's me. I'm sorry. I thought I was.
Oh, you're busy. I like that. Look at that. He's
I'm
cutting
dinging
deals
away.
already.
That's all right.
One of the neat things I've learned about you and why I tell people BNI is so good. It's not for everybody,
Sure.
but I'm a huge fan. Not only are there people that will help you grow your business, but the deep community involvement for people in BNI. And I know you got fingerprints all over Durham with organizations you've been involved with.
Sure, yeah.
What are a couple of your fun things you get to do each year?
Well, you know what I'll tell you is I mean, I'm one of the few, I feel like I'm one of the few that still here that are born and raised in Durham. So, I can recall elementary schools, middle schools, high school, even schools that we moved around a bit. So there's a few schools that I went to that I still see today. So I like to say I'm a son of Durham. So in any way that I can participate and give back via just, if it's speaking to a young group of kids that's talking about credit education and we did something at a high school not too long ago where we were talking to them about, hey, just be careful when you go on a campus and watch out for those credit cards and that free T-shirt might not be necessarily worth it, kind of thing. But also just trying to do things where we also utilize our network and our sphere to help introduce those folks to some of the teachers and different things. So I feel like anything that we can do that just will bring some change or some impact or some visibility, just whatever. Just doing my part. I can't.
I wish, and again, at my brother's house last night, my niece is a junior in high school, and we're talking about the couple classes starting the spring semester here shortly, and she's taking a finance class. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yes.
There needs to be an earlier class just about money in general, not investing. Don't care if you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. It's just money management.
Sure.
And things to, like you said, in college, most everybody signed up for that free credit card.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And freshmen will continue to do that.
And they will. That's not going to
But
change.
just a little bit of education on what it's going to mean. I mean, go ahead, but here's, here are the pluses, here are the minuses. 'Cause,
Yeah.
shoot, we're 18 and we're free.
Absolutely. We say that all the time, that I feel like there should be either a high school elective or something to where you're talking about
Yeah.
financial responsibility and what your credit means and things like that. Because again, these kids are looking at HGTV and just all these other things, and they think it's just the easiest thing in the world to get out. And how can I flip a house? I will tell you, I have more young buyers right now that are interested in looking at their first home that they're going to buy. Their interest is in an investing side of things. They think
Really?
that absolutely. They see the changeover and things that are happening in Durham and in Raleigh and in the local market. So, and then they watch HGTV. So they come to me and they're interested in buying a home. And then as we start talking and conversing further, I quickly hear that this is about to be an investment and you're not going to live in this, but you want to get them. So they're literally wanting to put nothing down, buy this as an investment, get all the money to fix the house. They're going to sell it and they're going to make $50,000 because guess what? That's what Tarek and Christina told you on HGTV. That's how easy it is. So again, it's I get it. I can understand the goal and the move and where you want to get to, but let's back that up. You're putting the cart way before the horse on that. So,
and there's a lot of people wanting to flip houses right now.
Absolutely.
So and everybody's looking for that $180,000 house that's going to take about $45,000 to fix it, and they're going to turn around and sell it for $260.
Yeah,
$270.
Yes,
if I do the math right. There's not that many houses out there. And if one comes up, there's going to be 10 people all over it.
Sure. No, it's definitely a different animal in that whole world there. So,
do you do many first-time home buyer seminars?
I do. I do quite a few actually. We've got two that's coming up. I've got one individually that I'm doing with a couple of agents here locally, and then we have one of our loan officers who just joined us is doing a massive one that she's been working on for years, and actually it's going to reach probably about 300 to 400 people.
Oh my!
So it's pretty big. She does it, but again, just getting out. It doesn't matter whether if I'm speaking to 4 people or whether I'm speaking to 50 or 100 people in a room. Just the education piece of understanding what to expect when you're buying your first home, I think is it's a powerful tool to kind of set the expectation for a first time buyer.
And that's the connection rather than coming out as the slick salesman.
Sure.
Is just educate, and they'll find you. If you again, us as consumers, if somebody educates me and I'm really interested in that, I'm probably going to call them back first.
Yeah.
All right. So you said something. Here comes the microphone.
No, I was going to say, if you're in high school and you want to drive, what do you have to do?
Driver's ed.
You have to take driver's.
Oh yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
I think they have to do this. They should do the same thing.
That's a great point.
To get a credit card, to understand about loans, because driver's ed you do so you don't hurt yourself and others.
Yeah.
With credit, you can hurt yourself.
Oh yeah.
For quite a few years.
Yeah.
And others maybe, your parents, they.
Yeah.
Sure.
So why don't they do that?
That's a good question.
I don't think it's not taught at home, first of all.
No, yeah,
I would imagine your 3 are going to have a decent working understanding of, if I hear this, it could mean this or that.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm back to your point. I just don't think parents are teaching that. My folks didn't teach it to me, and we did some to our boys, but they're 30, what are they, 32 and 30 or something like that. But I just don't think, back then nobody talked about money at the home. So
that's a great point, Mike. Because as even myself, like there wasn't a lot of that education for me going on, at home where we were talking about it or that conversation was happening, and probably didn't happen for my folks either. So didn't really understand or know what credit meant. So I didn't really figure it out until I got into the mortgage business.
Yeah.
So when I finally started looking at what credit reports are pulled and what they meant and how that looked, and I remember the first time I ever pulled my score, and I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's not right. That's not right.
No, it's supposed to start with this.
It was supposed to start with, like, really? But it was exactly, I was one of the victims of that. I wouldn't say victim, but I was one of the people who kind of came in and walked on campus and got that free t-shirt. And I remember that credit card. I remember the first thing I
Oh,
did when I
yeah.
got that credit card.
Oh, spent at least $250 on it.
Easy,
Yeah.
easy. Went
Oh,
to,
yeah.
lunch, gassed my car up. I was driving back and forth from Greensboro to Durham to
Yeah.
home, and
Oh,
saw those
yeah.
nice pair of sneakers that I just
Mhm.
saw. And I was like, man, wow, I couldn't afford those then, but here's
Yeah.
this magic card that just gives
And
me all this stuff.
then you get that first bill. It's like, ooh,
Oh yeah,
92. I don't have
yeah.
$92.
I didn't have $92, so it just hit the trash. But oh well, but that's
Being a Durham born and raised, I know you've
yes.
got a good first job in high school or memorable job in high school story.
Yeah, actually I do. So pretty
And
cool.
statute of limitations, I think, have passed.
Statute
So
of
you're
limitations
like,
were good
yeah,
on.
you're
Now
good.
this was actually fun. So I grew up. My dad, growing up, sorry, my dad sold cars. He was a car salesman, and this was the old South Square Mall, right across when that was like the happening place to be. So there was a car dealership, which is actually still there. It's right across. I don't know what it actually is now, but maybe a Volkswagen dealer or something. But it was called Durham Auto Park, and the job that I had was I would have to go, and the cars were all in this perfect line on the lot. So I would literally, when someone test drove a car, they'd bring it back, and let's say the salesman didn't park it perfectly in the line, I'd literally have to go down the line, look down, and see if all the cars were in this perfect line. And if they were not, I'd go into the showroom, grab all the keys, and just line these cars up. So um, it seemed like a really like whatever job, and it
Yeah.
was because it was the middle of the summer. These cars are super hot. It's not like I can go warm them up. So I'm getting in. So one of the managers actually just came up to me one day and he said, "You know what? Just go ahead and grab lunch and take one for a spin." And I was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah." I was 17 years old, and he was just like, "Yeah, go ahead, man. Take one over to lunch." So I just drove over to South Square Mall, the food court, with a convertible cabriolet, and
Oh, that was
parked up.
big time.
Oh
Wasn't
man,
it?
I thought I was on top of the world. But no, it was a fun job. I got to drive the cars, run people if they drop their car off for
Okay.
some repairs at the auto shop. I would run them home, so I was kind of like the shuttle guy. So there was that, but then I also had another job working at TCBY, slinging yogurt, which was actually the current Saladelia. So where Saladelia is
Okay.
right now, that
Yeah.
used to be TCBY back then.
The cars being parked that way, was that your dad's? Was that his?
So he was a sales guy. He was a sales
Oh, okay, all
manager.
right.
He was a sales manager, but
Okay.
he hey, my son needs a job,
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah.
kind of. So I'm sure he asked a couple of favors and got this job. I don't even know if that was a real job. That's something that
Yeah.
someone had to do.
What'd you get paid?
Probably $6 an hour.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
thought you were living life.
Oh, I
Right?
was
Yeah.
living life. I thought it was great.
So your job, one of the high school jobs, was parking cars straight or parking straight cars straight.
However you want to put it. Lot
Straight-
guy, lot boy. Yeah, straightening
straightening
cars. Yeah, straightening cars out. That was
Good. That'll be
That-
one of my show
that-
notes.
that's right. And part-time yogurt guy.
How long did you last at the yogurt place?
Not long because I couldn't make waffle cones. My waffle. You actually had so
Yeah.
you made the waffle cones in the back, and so they didn't have more than one person working in the store at a time. So I literally had to like go in the back and make the waffle cones, but then come out in the front and kind of service people too.
Yeah.
So one day we had this like crazy rush, and I don't know where they all came from. It was the first time I'd ever seen that many people in the store at a time, and I was still pretty new. So I'm running the register, doing the yogurt, doing all these things at once, and then we run out of waffle cones,
No.
which the owner thought that, or whoever was managing the store didn't think that would happen, and they didn't take the time to say, "Hey, here's how you actually run the waffle iron and you do these things." So I went back and made a quick attempt at trying to make these cones. And when they didn't turn out well, I just told them we were sold out. I was like, "We don't have any waffle cones. Sorry." Called my manager and I was like, "Hey, listen, you didn't teach me how to make the roll the waffle cones properly." I was like, "I can serve them some waffles and throw some syrup on
Yeah,
for you if you like with some ice cream. We can create something new on the menu."
The Charles code.
Yeah, that's right. I'll coin it something different. The yogurt burrito. There you go. Sorry. That's great.
So you still eat waffles to this day, though?
I do.
Okay,
do.
all right.
And anywhere when I can find a TCBY, I enjoy a waffle cone. And I tell my kids that story.
Yeah.
So it's fun stuff. Funny enough,
That's
that was
good.
actually my wife's first job too. So we have fun stories to tell on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she actually worked. I worked at the one in Durham. That obviously time difference, but
Mm.
she worked at the one that was in Carborough. So when she was
Okay.
in high school,
Too funny.
and those were the dual one. So I think it was like a TCBY and a Blimpies, or a
Yeah.
TCBY
Oh,
and
Blimpies.
whatever
Wow.
the
Haven't heard that in a while.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of those things. So, but
Now, you and Kristen have been married how long now?
it will be 12 years this
Are
year.
you, as these conversations kind of come out of the blue, are you finding out that you guys had a couple of common friends that you just didn't know because you didn't know each other?
You know, it's funny, and it's really funny that how our relationship, like, I mean, these conversations, we just talk about things
Mhm.
like all the time, and I feel like even when we were friends, that's what kind of led us into the relationship that we're in right now, is just the fact that we could sit and talk and converse about just different
Yeah.
experiences in life, and figure out how many things we had in common, and just, different stories like that. So it was she's fun to have those conversations with, because she was a hardworking girl. I mean, she worked all throughout high school and college and different places. So, and it wasn't always these like glorified jobs. I think she was like a hostess at BW3s on Franklin Street, when, yeah, there used to be like this massive, they had the BW3s was right across from Great Hall. So it was like they'd have this wing night,
Oh.
and it would just, just mass amount of people would come in. So she tells fun stories about trying to handle all the seating and everything going on there.
Frat guys.
Yeah, that's right.
You, she knows not to cheer for Carolina, right?
She's a Hokie, so she would not. Well, I take
just to tweak you a little bit, right?
well, yes. So interestingly enough, when she when we first started dating, it wasn't I can't cheer for Carolina. Like, she would never, like, because her dad was a big Carolina fan. So there was kind of this thing of like, well, my husband's a Duke fan, my dad's a Carolina fan. They're in the same room. So she would just stay back. Like,
Yeah.
she wouldn't, And then over time, it's just kind of turned into the thing where she's a Duke. So
were they in the ACC when you guys got married?
they were.
Okay,
Yes.
they're probably
So there were
relatively.
absolutely. So it was conversations that we would have where, number one, they would just destroy us in football.
Oh yeah.
And it was always like, oh, like, that's so
yeah.
cute. You guys have a football team kind of thing. Because, I mean, going to a game at Lane Stadium, there's nothing in this world that I've been to that's like it. I mean,
My brother went there when ECU. He's one
Mm.
of his good friends where he lived in his neighborhood is a Virginia Tech grad. About once every other year, he'll take him up for a game.
Yeah.
And my brother's not easily impressed.
Sure.
He loves that place.
Oh, it's
He
phenomenal.
said they stay there till the final gun.
Yes.
Nobody leaves.
Yes, no, Lane
Yep.
Stadium, just the whole experience of it
Mhm.
is something. So
Yep.
anyway, she's coming from that to us going to
Okay.
Wallace Wade Stadium. So
Yeah.
it's like, big difference there. But basketball, different
Yeah.
world. So I would get phone calls when we were number one in the country, and then Virginia Tech would beat us, and she was still in school there, and she just called. I was just like, oh.
I bet when you two drive around town, even if it's on a Saturday running errands, you'll point at something. Hey, I remember when, and then you go on to tell the story, right? Are you driving your kids nuts?
I'm laughing so hard because I do that every single time we go somewhere. Like just Friday, we were driving by where I go, and obviously I'm sure I've told my son this umpteen number of times, and I'm like, yeah, so I actually used to live right
Yeah,
here, and
I
I
know.
walk down here, and I walk there, and my son's sitting on his phone, and he's like, Dad, you probably have told me that story like I don't know how many times, but he entertains me. He's
Yeah.
like, it's still cool to hear. Tell me more. So how long did you have to hang out at the bus stop?
Yeah.
Like, just ask me some random question to make me feel good about, what I just
Did it
asked him.
snow uphill both ways?
Yeah,
Dad?
right. I know. But
Wait, because I moved away in '79, didn't move back till '99, but we'd come back and visit.
sure.
And I started telling those stories with my boys too. There was no 540. Athens Drive didn't exist. I mean, all these
Yeah.
things in Raleigh. That the Skyline was just a Holiday Inn, the Round Hotel. There
That's right.
was
Oh, yeah.
nothing there.
Wow.
And finally they said, Dad, we've heard enough. Like, okay.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
get the point.
Every now and again, we'll go through somewhere and I'll remember a story or something that we haven't told them. So
Oh,
it's-
yeah. Well, I'm hoping this show. Now, I was researching famous A&T alums.
Okay.
Healthy list.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this 1 hour will get you closer to be on that list. I think I knew, I'd forgotten that Jesse Jackson
Yeah.
went to A&T.
Mhm.
The coolest one for me being I haven't run track is Bob Beeman.
Mm.
I had no idea. He was the one held the long jump record for years.
Yeah.
No idea he went to AT&T. Elvin Bethea, I knew, Hall of Famer. Is it Taraji P. Henson, the actress?
You're about to school me on that one because I didn't know she went to A&T.
Yeah, picture was on there.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're pretty impressive. So hopefully this will bump you up just a little bit closer to getting on that list. So
We got a long, long ways to go.
okay,
But,
but you start with 1 hour at a time.
no,
Here.
I
So
got you.
your goals for 2020. I know you have them. I know
Sure.
you're the type that's
Sure.
there. So a healthy jump up from 2019. Do you, with an election year, do you guys have kind of an idea that things are going to be semi-normal to 2019?
I will say, I mean, we're hoping. I mean, it's a lot of, great healthy competition out
Yeah.
there, and it's a lot of, continuing to focus on what we do well and continue to spread that out there. And really my focus in 2020 is growth. I would love for us to, continue to spread our wings a little bit and grow a little more. And the projections that we have are going to be pretty healthy numbers in comparison to what we did in 2019. I mean, the expectation is that, we're going to surpass that number by quite a bit. So it's going to take a lot of work to do it, though.
Can I say, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want, can I
Okay.
say that you secretly want these 1-800 national companies to pop up just so people can call you and say, hey, look what I'm getting, and you can just go, people, you are no, you need to come see me to get your mortgage, right? It doesn't, let's just say it doesn't bother you that they pop up.
It does not. It does not. It's actually a really fun conversation to have. I think that when I am faced with that kind of conversation, it's going to go that direction.
Oh, yeah.
It opens the window and a door for the education part of things to happen, because a lot of times that salesperson on the other end is just that. They're just a salesperson, and they're not really trying to go into a lot of the details of things. And it gives us an opportunity to really step out and shine a bit. So I welcome it.
And that's a great point. I would rather deal with somebody that's a community member than a national salesperson.
Yeah.
I'm just the older I get, it's like I want somebody to call. I want somebody to know, because I'm the type, I'm gonna have 5 follow-up questions, and texting and on the phone and email just not gonna work.
Right.
So,
No, absolutely.
so anybody out there getting ready to go buy a house, please get in touch with Charles at Prime Lending. His number's been up on the screen. We'll put it up there one more time. Oh, sorry, making Amnon do the work here. There we go. 619-2724. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of education. They offer a ton of different packages. We never even got to those. I wanted to. But if you or somebody you know getting ready to buy a house, please call Charles. We wish you the best of luck in 2020.
Awesome.
Glad to have you on the show here.
Thanks,
Had a lot of fun laughing. And we'll see you next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.